Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Just ahead of Ian Furness, today's guest on a Friday, brought to you by Langley Chrysler. Don't struggle to find a great deal on new or used vehicles. When Langley Chrysler has over 200 vehicles on the lot, save up to $10,500 on Ram at Langley Chrysler, in-store or online at langleychrysler.com. Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. From Uber Cool Rick, 82% of your audience has never played pro sports. Bagskate won't show you how many goals you're going to score, but it will tell you how much preparation and commitment players put in the offseason. That from Uber Cool.
Yeah, Uber Cool, Rick. Whatever your name is, Phil, whatever.
Phil?
Well, what is it? Uber Cool what?
It's not Uber Cool Phil. It's Uber Cool Rick. Let's get to Uber Cool Ian here. From KJR Radio in Seattle, Ian Furness joins us. How are you, sir?
Good, gentlemen. The Bag Skate by Travis Green is the headline today. Is that the deal?
Oh, yes. This is Vancouver, Ian. It's the headline.
Rick's not happy with who we're ripping into. Did the Kraken have a bag skate? Do we know?
To the best of my knowledge, they don't. You know, the best bag skates aren't in training camp or a practice. They're after a game.
Bad game. Bad game.
After they get off the bus.
I've seen a couple of those. Peter Anholt was famous for those in Seattle.
With
the Thunderbirds. And, he did that a couple times. In fact, and I saw it in the IHL once. Butch Goring did it when we were in Utah. We were doing a post-game show. We looked down there, and I saw the trainer walk out, and he started putting water bottles on the bench.
Oh, no.
And I went, oh, wow, these guys are pros. And they were all we were affiliated with Kings or the Islanders at the time, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see the water bottles coming out about 20 minutes after the game, building empty, and lo and behold, here came the professional athletes out on the ice about 10 o'clock at night. That's a bag skate, people. Come on.
Yeah. Before we get to the Seahawks, the Kraken jerseys, what are the number one selling jersey in all of North American
They had a great week last week, Ian. I asked you about that. They're the hottest, selling like hotcakes.
They are, apparently. I didn't know that. Listen, man, I got a lot going on. Keeping a track of like the hottest selling something or other. Good for you, Rick. I can't do that, man. I don't know.
But I mean, I knew they were nice. I didn't know that they were going to be this big of a hit. They're outstanding looking. Okay, so the Seahawks blow the 15-point lead at home to Tennessee last weekend. Ian, a lot of people, including yourself, talking in Seattle about this. Where is the Seahawks' invincibility at home? Where has it gone?
Well, it's gone away. I mean, last year you kind of have to take that away a little bit because no fans.
Yeah.
So if you go back to 2019, they were 4-4 at home. They were 7-1 on the road. I mean, it was odd. They've had a couple 4-4 seasons in the last 4 years at home with a little 6-2 mark sandwiched in there, but they've lost 3 straight home games with fans that matter, going back to the last 2 games of 2019 with fans, and then, of course, last week as well. Tennessee was not fazed at all by the crowd noise. It was loud. I thought the fans were fantastic, to be honest with you. I thought it was, masks on or off, whatever they were doing. The fans were fantastic. I think you can make an argument that maybe it hurt Seattle in a sense. I mean, some of the penalties were, it was a self-induced loss in a lot of ways. 10 penalties for 100 yards, and I think a lot of that came because guys were maybe a little too amped up in some ways.
Okay, I was just going to ask you, Ian, you mentioned the penalties, 10 penalties, 100 yards. Who gets the blame for that?
Well, I think that the professional athlete has to. The coach can tell you all you want, don't take a dumb penalty, but you get caught up in the moment, the emotion of the game. I mean, you look at most of them where, they were late hits, taunting. DK Metcalf had 2 penalties on 1 play. He's had 5 in 2 games. But the late hits on the quarterback, the taunting penalties, in which they had a couple. I mean, those are on the players. You just have to be smarter and better in those. I mean, you can't hit a quarterback in the head. That happened once, extended a drive. The motion or illegal formation. Yeah, maybe you put that on the preparation wasn't perfect, but I still think it comes down to the guys themselves. I mean, I think you can coach all you want, but at some point you have to take some personal responsibility, and they just have one of those. They've had 2 of those games, to be honest with you. They're the 3rd most penalized team in the NFL in terms of yards. I think they're 5th in terms of actual penalties, but in terms of yards, they're number 3, which tells you that the penalties they do get are pretty significant.
Ian, DK Metcalf, a slow start. I think even the coach admitted that yesterday. But what about Tyler Lockett? Second in yards in the NFL. I think he's 3 or 4 shy, number 1. 2 of his 3 touchdowns, 60 yards plus. He's been amazing so far, Ian.
He has. But the consistency isn't there. I don't want to be critical. Tyler Lockett's made some big plays. The problem is that the offense as a whole, it's been reliant on just those big plays. I mean, even Tyler, they need to find the intermediate routes. They need to move the chains, more methodically. And here's why. They're number 1 in the NFL right now in yards per play. And a lot of that comes from Tyler Lockett. And, of course, Freddie Swain had a big play last week as well. They're number 32 out of 32 teams in time of possession. When they do score, they score quickly. It's quick strike offense. But then if they don't, it's 3 and out. And that's putting a lot of pressure and a lot of duress on the defense. And Tyler's been fantastic. He makes big plays. He's a top receiver in the NFL. I think he goes largely unnoticed on the national scale because the blue hair like DK, he's not as flashy, doesn't look the same. But Tyler's had a terrific season. They just need as an offense to be more consistent in moving the chains because when you're not holding on to the football, and they're not, and that was a huge problem last week against Tennessee, the defense is just out there way, way too long.
Ian, Seahawks obviously are underway. The Mariners in the wild card race, the Kraken kickoff camp. Are you feeling a buzz in Seattle for hockey, or are you just sitting there going, okay, you got to let the Mariners finish up here before you get the buzz in hockey?
Define buzz. It's pretty early in the morning. Like buzz.
Yeah. I see you have your coffee there.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you don't know what's in it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Wow. Sorry. I just assumed it was coffee.
I think that the Mariners are an interesting part of the equation. Like you kind of described that landscape, and they're just an interesting part of it because we're so used to being disappointed. And lo and behold, they go out and they sweep 4 games from the Oakland A's. They're 2 out. Time's running out. It feels like they're going to fall a game or 2 short. So people are still a little leery to get too much on board with them without being disappointed yet again. The Seahawks are they're front and center. They always are. There's some excitement with the Kraken. We felt that the last couple of days, and obviously college football is here. I would just say it's kind of a great time to be a sports fan here in Seattle. There's something for everybody, and it's fun. It's fun to have a baseball team that's still playing relevant games, even if they're, I think we all kind of realize the time's running out, but they're playing relevant games. It's great to have, the NFL with fans and all the hype that goes around that and the fantasy football, and everyone's fired up. Obviously, the Kraken starting, and they have their first preseason game, I think, against your team on Sunday.
Yep.
So people are excited about different things, and college football is a big, big deal here too. So yeah, it's a really fun time, and I think, all joking aside, guys, with what we all went through and what we are still going through for the last 18 plus months, it's nice just to have those things to distract you from everyday life. And I think we always kind of realize how important sports can be in terms of our entertainment, in terms of keeping our mind off of day-to-day world things. And so it's kind of nice to have all those things down here right now.
Yep. We sure like sports. Ian, thanks for this. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Friday.
I promise to have a buzz for you. How's that?
Okay, good.
Buzz.
Good. Keep that mug full.
It's almost there. It's almost empty.
Okay.
Lots of sugar.
Get him back on the show in half an hour. Let's see how it goes. Thanks, Ian.
See you, boys.
Okay.